Hey everyone, welcome back to the PEHE teacher, and today I'm finishing a cup of coffee and just wanted to quickly put out a video about building connections with your students. This is so important, and I'm today going to be talking about some baseline ways that you can connect with your students, whether you're in person or online with your students this school year. So make sure you subscribe down below and like this video to let me know you like it. And here we go. Let's go into some baseline ways to connect with your students. All right, so today we are talking about building connections, and I want to talk to you why I think building connections is important. When I was in high school, I had a teacher that I had a really great connection with. Like, he knew me and I knew him, and I got to know a lot of my teachers, and it was more exciting for me to go to that class because I felt known and I felt cared for in that class because they knew me. So making sure you're focusing on getting to know your students. For me, the goal is if I know my students, I can provide them what they need in my classroom. I can make sure I'm making games that are appropriate for them or that are fun for them or what their skills need. But I also can tailor it to their likes and dislikes. I can go, oh, I know they really like that new Trolls 2 movie, so maybe I can like theme it around that and it'll be super exciting. Or I really know my students do not like when we do obstacle courses or station work. So I'm only going to put that in every once in a while, and I'm not going to primarily focus around that. Building connections with your students, in my opinion, should be the main goal. Every single class period, it should be the main goal, because that is how you're going to be able to teach your students. It's how you're going to be able to have good knowledge and be able to build off of that. Because if I look at you and I know your locomotor skills are at a 2nd grade level and you're in 4th grade, and I can go, hey, you're here, Johnny, and that's okay because I know you. And now we're going to work to get to where that is, and you build that connection. You can also work with your hard to know, like your harder behavioral students, and get that connection because they'll trust you and they'll listen to you. I know I've personally worked with kids where I'm like, hey, I know you're better than this. I know you can do really awesome things. Show it to me. And then they'll be really, really good with me. And maybe they struggle in other classrooms. The other reason that it's also good is because if you know someone's having a bad day and the teacher's like, why is Johnny he's just struggling today? You can be like, hey, Johnny had a hard day at home. Hey, Johnny's dog died. Stuff like that where it can affect a student. And maybe not every teacher knows that, but because they trust you, they can come to you. So today we're going to be walking through a couple things that I think are a good baseline that you can do online, that you can do if you're in person, or any way to be able to connect with your students and to get to know them. Remember, you know what to do. Okay, the first thing you need to do, in my humble opinion, is know your students' names. If you're in high school, you have like 160 some kids sometimes of students' names that you're going to be learning. Hey, there's my head. So one thing I like to do is I like to make sure I quiz when kids are walking into class. I'm like, hey, what's up? This is your name. Or if you're online, call out students by name and make sure you are doing an active, not, hey, you, and point. Make sure you're like, hey, Christina, hey, Tom, and make sure you're using their names over and over, because then it's just going to become repetitive. Because the first day I've found sometimes you like know their name because you're like, okay, Johnny's wearing a blue shirt today and he has orange socks on. But then the next day, Johnny is not wearing a blue shirt and orange socks. So you really got to get to know your students. So overusing their name all the time. If you see the parents when they leave, it's really also awesome to say, bye, Johnny, because the mom's like, oh, they know their name and it's only the first week. So really get to know them. Call them out, whether you're on Zoom or Google Hangout. Call them out, use their name over and over, because it's super helpful. And it helps students feel known. Students want to feel known and cared for, and that's just a basic human need. I love when I feel known and cared for. So getting to know your student's name is a key way for that. All right, the second thing you guys can do is do get to know you games with your students. So if you're online, you guys could do some virtual like field trippy games, really, and you have to answer questions. And I have a video about how to make a virtual field trip, which should be in the iBox. I think it's up here. I don't remember. So then the other thing you can do if you're in person, do games, get to know your students. I personally don't like the standard icebreaker games because I think we've all played them about one too many times. So be unique, maybe make an obstacle course, and at certain parts they have to answer questions, or they could make a board game on the floor and they roll a dice and they're in teams and they have to answer questions Find ways to get to know your students. Ask a student while Johnny's walking in and you know their name. Be like, Johnny, what'd you do last night? Hey, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite ice cream? What's your favorite breakfast? Stuff like that to just really get to know your students, because once you get to know your students, again, it helps you lead and be able to teach a lot better. One of the last ways that I think is really important for building connections with your students is share about yourself. Let your students know you. Be open and vulnerable to an extent. You need to have a boundary as a teacher. But when you're open and vulnerable, what's going to happen is your students are going to be able to trust you because they know something about you. So like for me, I have 3 dogs, and like maybe because they also have dogs, they get to know me, or that I like the Green Bay Packers or other things like that, that they will get to know me. And so they'll talk to me about that stuff. All right, so I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you guys learned some ways to build connection with students. Drop down below in the comments if you know any ways that I didn't talk about that you love as baseline ways to get to know your students. Make sure you subscribe below and like this video to know that you like it, and check out my website, which will be listed down below here, which is www.thepeheteacher.com, to check out more on this topic. See you soon.